Dr. Scott, what about depression? Has that been around for a long time? Aren't there people who are more melancholy by nature? I remember reading philosopher William James saying that he got up each day and he put on his melancholia like a suit of clothes. Would he have been prescribed antidepressants if he were alive today?
Sure. Yeah. Depression has always been around. Hippocrates talked about it. Hippocrates thought, of course, it was related to bile and to phlegm. He thought that...
But are they interchangeable, melancholia and depression?
Yeah, they're synonymous terms.
Okay.
You're talking synonymous terms. Melancholia is the term of antiquity.
Okay.
But depression is our term today. People don't talk about having melancholia today.
But if I say I'm melancholy, that doesn't sound nearly as bad as if I say I'm depressed.
Well, maybe. But yeah, sure, we've always had differences in people. You can have them in children. You look at kids, even at 1 and 2 years of age, you can tell some kids are bubbly and happy all the time. Mm-hmm. And some kids are a little more quiet, and some kids are loud. And so, we're different. We're just people, but we're all made just a little different. That does not mean that we have to have drugs. And yet, true believers today are prescribing drugs to even little children. We have over 30,000 kids in this country under 5 years of age. You're talking 4 and 3 and 2 and 1 years of age that are being given antidepressants.
That's criminal.
Well, it sounds crazy, but think about it. And it's interesting to me also how often people react to that. They say, that's terrible. The very people who think it's appropriate to give drugs to someone who's depressed. And my argument is, well, hold it. If you believe that depression is due to a chemical imbalance, the standard argument is, if it's due to a chemical imbalance, you wouldn't withhold insulin from a diabetic. You shouldn't withhold serotonin from someone's depressed. If that argument holds true for a 30-year-old, it ought to hold true for a 3-year-old. So if your 3-year-old is not a bubbly child, and you take them to a physician, and the physician notices that's not a bubbly child, or that child may hit a lot or something, and the parent's concerned, and the physician prescribes an antidepressant, there's logic in following the same argument that's used for the 30-year-old. I don't think either one should be given those drugs, but you see the same principle holds true for both.
So we have different personality types.
We do.
And we're drugging some of them.
That's absolutely true, and of course we see it in all kinds of areas. You look at, for example, kids who are very busy, kids who have a high activity level.
Oh, yes.
And we give them, in our country, Ritalin. Why is it that we used to give over 90% of the world's Ritalin to 5% of the world's population? The United States is only 5% of the world's population. We used to get over 90% of the world's Ritalin. Now it's about 80%. We still give, by far and away, more Ritalin to children here than in any other country in the world. It is an American phenomenon. Why is it here?
Yes, why?
And it's because we promote it here. We're allowed to promote it here. We allow direct-to-consumer advertising even. We allow these drug ads in all the medical journals. If you look at JAMA and New England Journal of Medicine, huge numbers of drug ads. There are controls on these things in other countries. No other country, for example, allows direct-to-consumer advertising besides the United States and New Zealand. New Zealand, they've been fighting to get rid of it. They have it. In our country, there's really no fight to get rid of it. So it'll be here. And the consequence is people are asking for these drugs. If you can convince people that they need Ritalin as an adult, for example, they'll take it as an adult. If you can convince people that they're not having life go just the way they want it to go, can be fixed by a drug, they'll go ask for the drug. And physicians are compliant, and they'll give that drug. They don't want to lose the patient. They don't want to upset the patient, which will happen once that patient's convinced this is the answer. And so these drugs are prescribed at very high levels here. You're far more likely to be given an antidepressant in America than you are in Taiwan or South Korea or Switzerland or many other countries around the world.